Let's hop into voice AI. This is a high-level solution for AI agents that can answer calls like a virtual receptionist, or in the near future, make those calls. So a level up from the robots and answering services we've seen before. These are complete agents that can have a conversation via voice. It is literally like a robot virtual receptionist. This is most valuable for businesses currently that actually have inbound calls, businesses that do appointments. A lot of times that's local businesses. And so to offset, let's say sole proprietors or kind of owner operators, they're a plumber, more than half of their day, they're actually doing the work. And so they're constantly trying to like answer their cell phone of new business and new leads coming in. This is incredibly valuable for them. They can focus on their art and the craft. And it's like getting an entire receptionist, a full-time receptionist for pennies on the dollar. Let's get started with the voice AI side of it. They kind of have guided flows here to create your first voice AI agent, to test it, and then to assign a number and go live. Those are the three big pieces that you need to understand and that we're going to kind of cover here. And so I'm actually just going to do the guided process, which is kind of quick links into the process here. So you have an agents list where you can create different agents and attach those to phone numbers. Because this is an inbound process here, you got to have a phone number, because how do you access that voice AI agent is by calling the phone line. And so you would independently register that phone line here. Immediately, you have kind of like two modes. There's basic mode and then there's advanced mode. Basic mode, you're going to choose things like your agent name. I'm going to call this one support. The business name will default to whatever the sub account name is there. And so if this is Matt's, actually we'll do it with Matt's paintball. It'll be fun. So I now have a Matt's paintball. We've got a support agent here, and you get to choose the language. They actually have opened up language support for other languages beyond English, which is remarkable in their globalization of high levels of product there. And then you have a couple different voice options. I say a couple, actually, there's a lot of different voice options here. As you go through it, they've kind of pulled the most popular within the community, or the ones that kind of have a little bit more advanced tonality. But you can see they brought those all to the top and made it really quick and easy to kind of pick out the ones that sound a little bit more human, is really what they're identifying there. So I don't think we can hear this, but you can play a little sample and test out the agent to find a voice that works best for you. You pick the time zone. Once again, that defaults to the time zone for your account there. And then you can see they've been teasing out outbound. Still not live, but it seems that eventually outbound will be possible. I'm going to guess, depending on the time of the video here, I'm going to guess fall of 2025 is when outbound goes live. They tend to push big releases there around their annual summit. And then you've got an initial answer message. Now, this is in basic mode. I'm going to show you advanced settings as well here. But so this is like, if I called in, what are you going to hear immediately? Hey, you've reached, and this doesn't dynamically populate there. So if we've got Matt's paintball. How can I help you today? Just the first piece to prompt the other person to start talking. I say person, the caller to start talking to your AI agent here. And those are the foundational basic details. I'm going to go through actually a basic setup, then we'll come back and do an advanced setup. So as simple and as quick as, you got your basic details there, and then you've got your goals here. It's just collecting. It's collecting details, and you can ask it to collect the name, the email, the address. For Matt's paintball, that wouldn't be relevant. Maybe their issue or their inquiry there. It auto assigns a call summary as a note to the contact. So that's going to happen by default. And then you can email like a post call notification to all of the admins in there, all of the users, the assigned user to the contact, if you're running rules like that, specific users, or even a custom email if you want to just run it that way. But and you can pair a couple of these together. But for me, I might have it just send to Matt's paintball. I don't actually own that domain, but that'd be awesome. And then you can have it reference a knowledge base of information, which we're going to cover a little bit later. Is what does it look like to set up the knowledge base there? But even just in a basic mode here, it's basically an answering service is what you're going to get. They're going to answer. It's going to say, how can I help? They're going to say, I wanted to know, if you're running any promotions for next month. It's going to log that as the issue. It's going to say, hey, can I get your name? It's going to ask for the name. Can I get your email? And then it's basically going to say, I'm going to have somebody call you back ASAP. Basic answering service. It's going to send those details over there. You can actually trigger a workflow when the call is completed. So if you create a specific automation that you want to do after the call completed, meaning it's going to have more details here. If you want to just do different actions upon call completion, you can do that and log that externally. Or if you're grabbing an address, you could send a postcard, whatever other actions you would typically have your voice agent or receptionist handle. You can do that. But in its basic form, it's an answering service. It sends an email after the call, and it's basically like advanced voicemail. And then the last piece on basic mode is actually just choosing, I believe, a number and assigning it to that agent, and it goes live. So you can see in a matter of minutes, or like less than 10 minutes, you can get a voice AI agent live into the account, handling those calls and taking a huge lift off of the business owner. And so you can see, you can test here. And then you can choose numbers or buy a number, and you can have it as a backup or working. So this is kind of like preference of when is it working here. So it can be a backup to the phone number, means it's always going to call the assigned forwarding number. If they don't answer after whatever the timeout function time setting there is, it's going to then send it over to the AI agent. If you don't do this, it's just going to call the agent directly, and you can kind of blend these together. So if you want it as a backup, you can set the hours. I will say, if you want to have it some hours where it doesn't call at all, you just want it off, you do that with multiple agents is how you can run that function. So just imagine I might have one that works. It's actually interesting too for setting the time here. What you can't do is go beyond the start of the day, if that makes sense. So let's say you want it only nights and weekends. And so you're like, I want it to be, so I want it to run 12 to 8, and then I want it to run, let's say, 5 to 12. What you would do is set 12 to 8, and you'd set a second sequence where this is going to be a PM. Let's go 5 p.m. to go to the PM options to like 11:55. Technically, there's a 5-minute gap there in coverage, but that's how you'd set up like a nights and weekends there, and you'd only have it directly go to the agent on nights, and then for weekends you'd be like, run the full day or whatever it is, and you could set that process there. If I copy, this was nice. I could set that up and be like, okay, I want to copy this this is what I'm doing for Monday through Friday. Apply that. I've got my nights coverage there, and then for the weekends, I might just run the whole day. The whole day except for if you call us at 11:57 at night, who knows what's going to happen? And I'm going to clone that over to Sunday. Okay, so there's an example of the settings you could pick. You choose your number here. I think all of mine are already assigned to other agents, and so I'd have to buy a new number. You assign your number, and then any calls coming in are going to route there. And then if you're setting it as like a backup for the main business line, it'll try to call the business owner or whoever the initial forwarding is there, and if they don't answer, it'll handle that. There's a basic agent and all the setup process. We're now going to go back and come back and run through the advanced flow for voice AI, all the way back to the very start where we got agent details. So we still have our name, still have got our inbound settings here, some of the advanced settings. So you can set different limits. By default, it's 5. You can go up to 15. So if you're in an industry or they're, even for like an answering service, they're going to take a little bit longer time to have that conversation, or you're prompting calls where you want them to engage a little bit longer with the voice AI, you're going to want to extend that limit there so that it's 15. You can change the response speeds here, normal, brisk, and fast, in terms of how long does it take to process. Cuts down a little bit on the latency there if you want to go with the fast version there. And then you're sort of like idle time. Basically, how much silence is allowed as sort of like acceptable before they start thinking like, proceeding or waiting for all the context there. So these are finalizing options, whereas you get into it and you realize, okay, for my use case, I don't want to have idle times whatsoever. or I do, especially if you're increasing the response time speed. And if the other person's slower to respond, you can get this kind of like conflict that's happening on the voice AI, or it just feels less human or creates more errors there. But you can see by default, they've got like an 8 seconds, where if the other person, I mean, that's 8 1,000, or 1,000, 2 1,000, it's 8 full seconds. It's a pretty long idle time. If that happens, it's going to kind of like reprompt the conversation, be like, hey, are you still there, sort of a thing. So there's our advanced settings on the agent details foundational stuff. And the biggest change in the advanced configuration here has to do with goals. If we go to the advanced mode over there, so beyond just sort of like the basic answering agent over here, if I go to advanced mode, it opens up the entire prompting possibility here. And it's good to note, once you go advanced, you can't go back to basic. So obviously we can go from basic to advanced, but can't go the reverse direction there. You do have the knowledge base as something you can reference here, and then you can kind of prompt when it should use the knowledge base, right? So things in the knowledge base, you might include your pricing, you might include the times a day that you're open. So all of that is great referenceable information inside of the knowledge base, which would be useful on the chat or conversation text-based, as well as the voice side. But you can actually prompt to know when it should reference that knowledge base. And then you've got the large voice prompt here, where you give it context into who it is. It's a support agent, and or whatever the goal is there. And then you goal. So you get intro, who they are, the goal, what are they trying to do, gather information, get the context there. I've seen people use this to take orders. I've seen people to do this to actually demo AI, create kind of like a self example AI answering agent. So it actually gathers the details about the business, and then based on those details, it kind of shifts personalities and now becomes kind of like it role plays. Essentially, it's a simulation. It role plays being a receptionist for their business. So lots of cool things that you can do and build out here. And so this is just the default prompt, and you can absolutely edify this and continue to make it more robust. My recommendation is they do have prompt guidelines. This is going to be the best place to get the most up-to-date information, because they're constantly pushing the boundaries of the limits and even some of the models they're using. We've seen over the last 6 months, they've probably shifted, they've probably honestly deployed like 30 or 40 micro adjustments to this, because it's tied to a key growth area for high level. They're going to be rapid innovators there. And so I would actually just suggest to stay up to date with their guidelines, because I've seen it where a recommendation that I've made weeks ago became obsolete because of some changes that they make. So I just say keep up to date with their prompt guidelines, and obviously their default is going to be pretty strong out of the gate to get you something close to what you want. And you can see they even have they've prompted now and edified it out for how to gather emails, how to spell it back, how to just how to articulate and speak and be more human sounding, at least. But you have complete control over the prompt there. And then you've got actions during the call and after the call. So this is kind of cool. There are 6 different types of actions that you can run either during the call or after the call. What this now allows you to do is to do things like call transfer, trigger a workflow. Then that expands a whole other possibility of other automations you can fire off there. So I'm talking to them, and I don't know. They say they're RSVPing that they're coming, or they're going to be late, and that triggers a workflow to notify someone else in the office they're going to be late. You can send a text message. This is an older style where people were kind of like hybriding solutions here. Let's say you use a calendar that's not inside of high level. You can't conversationally book to a calendar that doesn't exist in high level. And well, I'll say with the custom action, you might be able to, but it's not as simple as this book appointment. However, you could have it send a SMS that links to that external calendar, whatever it is, right? So if for some reason it's a medical practice and they've got a specialty calendar with a specialty, booking system that doesn't integrate with high level, you could use this to say, I want to book an appointment. Great. Let me send you a text message with the link to book that yourself. You can update certain contact fields. This is great because if they give you more information that you want to log there, you can hold that. So if you're running a AI, voice AI system for trying to get people to sell their cars for cheap, and you have a phone number listed on a billboard that says "We buy cars," probably what you want to gather there is what kind of car they have for sale. This is where you can have a custom field that is, car make, model, year, whatever it is. And as the conversation is going on, it's logging those details. So, I might say like car model. I would need to have a model here. I've got a lot of examples from like real estate. And so, I'll do desired sales price. So it's like asking price. That might be something I might have there. So I'm going to log the desired sales price, when to update the fields, or what to update the desired sale price for the car. And maybe I'll let it overwrite or not overwrite. And here's an example is, 2000. And, I guess these are all number fields. So, and I'll add other examples there of like, examples of numbers that they might say. And I'd probably include in my prompting to ask them, what's the make, model, year, and what price are you looking for on the car, or what's the lowest acceptable price you would take on the car. And so it's cool. So it's not only asking, gathering information, it'll send you a summary of the call afterwards, but now it's actually logging that into custom fields about the contact, where you can now send that over, fire some other automation. You could actually even use this to, we'll show you, like get exact quotes on the car, or reference a live database. And so that's the update contact field option there. So we're going to go ahead and save that and keep going through our other, I think we got 2 or 3 more actions to cover. And so all of these actions can happen during the call or after the call, depending on how you want to do it. But so some of the things, so booking an appointment, obviously a cool one. Like that's, what do you want to do? You want to book the appointment. You can tell it which calendar, you can give it the dates to offer there. And High Level does a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of logistically allowing it to book the appointment. And then the custom action. So this is a brand new functionality, or let's say the latest functionality here, where you can actually call either a post or a get. So if you want to fetch that price for the vehicle, you can now say, we want to, like, let's say offer. And, when you have the make, model, and year of the car, I might say like condition. So I might prompt to get the make, model, condition, and year of the car, sort of like what you'd expect from like, is that Carfax or something like that. And you get those variables there. And then you're going to say, what is it going to say when it has the details? So like give it computing time. I'll look up what our best price might be for you. Then it's going to fire that URL, that endpoint. This is a little bit more programmer speak there, but you can actually you can do a post request to send information, or a get request to receive information. You can add things to the header there, add an authentication if you need, and then you've got all sorts of like variables and parameters you can put in here. So I might, put in the make, model, year, condition of the car. And as long as you have a sort of webhook or interface where you can send that details, and it's going to return the value that you want, be it $1,500 or $2,000, you can test the webhook and it receives that data back. So similar to what you do in like the conversational chat or workflow side of it, you can now do on the voice side of it. So this opens up a whole new world of possibilities with what voice AI can do. It could fetch real-time updates for the weather. You could ask it details about your own sub account. There's so many cool things that you could do now with a little bit more programmery possibility here, but this really does open up a ton of flexibility into the type of voice AI agents that we can build in here. And so to fully save these actions, you have to do a full test of the webhook and actually receive that information back. But so those are the 6 different actions that can be done during the call, after the call, and then these options were the same ones for the basic mode. But so the big thing is you can control the prompt, you can control the actions during or after the call, and then our last page there is still the same, where you choose the phone number, you choose, if it's a backup or if it's a primary and different hours there, and then you can deploy your agent. So this fully covers the voice AI agent possibilities and settings there. But as I teased earlier, I do want to now navigate over to the knowledge base. So there was lots of links within here where it takes you to the knowledge base. You can also find it on the left-hand side, just knowledge base. And so the knowledge base function unifies that referenceable knowledge base for conversations as well as voice. So, chat or text-based communication as well as voice communication there. So that blue button to create a new knowledge base, and then we can start it up. And now you can really populate the knowledge base in two ways currently. And that is you can crawl different links. So if you have a website, you can literally give it the website to crawl, and it's going to fetch the data, generate FAQs, generate a knowledge base based on that live website. And then the second area there is you can actually add in questions and answers. So these are referenceable FAQs. And so what hours are you open? We're open 24/7 if you're us. And then you can save those individually and keep on adding different FAQs. And so this is really handy because, like I said, it's the same data, same information for voice as well as text-based, so conversation AI and voice AI. And then, coming soon, like I said, I feel very confident by fall of 2025, you'll also be able to upload files in there to assemble this. And so then you can reference these links on the side are just really those three areas: the web crawler, the FAQs, and the uploaded files. As you add information, so even just one FAQ, it's considered a knowledge base. You can add a description here. This is really just for internal, but it's voluntary as well. So the description. We come back to our knowledge base, and there you have it. So this has actually been just one piece of a larger free course that I've released. If you want to deep dive into all things AI employee, you can check out that video here.